Yeah.
All right. So yeah, yeah. All right. So two gimmicks, and I guess Thijs in between a gold gimmick or good gimmick type of
Yeah, at the
thing.
moment
Okay.
he is probably Gimmick, but I can see him being good really fast too. If somebody just tries him out and finds a really good list around it, it might be good to be playable. But yeah, at the moment he's just not strong enough. It is just not good in this meta against all the aggro. A lot of combo decks being played. This card is just not working against that.
Okay. Let's. I think that concludes our card discussion there. Let's move on to some deck talk here, and I just picked two decks that I saw on Hearthstone that might be interesting to talk about. The first one being Zetalot's deck. It's a priest deck that he got quite high on, I think, this past week. And, lots of elements of this is very similar to priest that you've seen, but I'll name a couple things and maybe we can discuss it. So the biggest thing is Holy Champions in this deck, which you don't see in very many of the priest decks being played, whether it's Dragon or it's Control. So what do you guys think of this deck?
Seems really solid. It's got like the standard control priest shell, a little bit greedier, and then it's got the Holy Champions thrown in there as like extra mid-game presence. And I mean, Holy Champion's got a solid stat line. Like 3/5 isn't bad, and then it's got the Light Warden effect. So if it sticks around, you can set up some OTKs with like Wild Pyromancers and circles.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so always the possibility for that makes it pretty strong.
Amaz, our priest expert here?
Yeah, the Holy Champion is definitely the signature card in this deck. We see that all the time. You have like this Light Warden, OTK thing, and the champion with a 5 health is actually pretty sturdy. I kind of always joke about the 3-4-5 rule, where if a minion has like 3 or less health is really bad, 4 health is really good, and 5 health or more is insane. It doesn't really matter. 5 upwards is kind of the same. But yeah, it does fulfill that requirement, and yeah, it does kind of fit in this deck, right? Because you're still running the Pyromancers, the circles, and whatnot, so it's OTK. That's one of the game plans, like one of the win conditions of this deck. The other win condition is like the Justicar, right? So you have Justicar, you play a more control-heavy game, just stall it out. You use your Light Bomb to clear the board, and then hopefully your Ysera Confessor, kind of like seals the deal out. And if that doesn't work, you always have Thought Steal as a backup.
Oh,
Yeah.
Every
great.
time Thought Steal in a priest deck, you always have a win condition. Thought Steal is a win condition, right? You just
Yeah.
against the control. You Thought Steal Gramash 2 times, like I did the other day. It's very easy to Thought Steal legendaries when your opponents play 7 of them, right? So
It feels a bit weird to play it in this deck, to be honest. It is a priest deck that really plays his own game by getting value from all these inspired cards a bit and trying to just stay on live the early game, and it feels like the toss steal doesn't fit with staying alive early game and playing your own game plan. But yeah, I can see like it can do miracles and you put an extra card in your deck, but it's a bit in this deck, it seems like a bit over needed.
I like Thought Steal in the deck. I mean, you have plenty of control early. He's got like he's got the standard like Northshire package, and then he's got Zombie Chow thrown in there, and then he has Wild Pyromancers and 2 Light of the Narus to go with it. So he's got all the early game removal. He's got Light Bomb, Holy Nova, Alkanized Circles. Like sometimes you also just need an extra spell to proc with Wild Pyromancer, and Thought Steal just fits in that slot pretty efficiently.
What do you think about Ysera and Confessor? Like, I usually see one or the other in priest decks, even control priest decks. That's pretty greedy.
I've been playing a bit of priest just now on stream, and Confessor is kind of like my new favorite. I don't know. It's really good when you summon something that's like relatively fair. Like Chromagus is kind of fair, sometimes. Basically, a big minion, like Chilmaw, for example. Those are fair legendaries, right? You have the unfair ones like Cho and like some, I don't know, those are suck. And then you have
Edwin.
Acid
unfair
Maw.
ones.
Edwin, yeah.
And then the unfair ones, which is like, I don't know, KT, Ragnaros, Ysera, for example, as well. Those are unfair. But if in a normal summon, they either have to choose to kill your legendary or the Confessor. They usually can't kill both. And I think that's really, really good. So I love the Confessor. And Ysera is just like, extra win condition, I guess. I personally using Mind Control right now because like meta has slowed down. People have been bored of playing patrons, like the aggro hunter and whatnot. And more so that this season doesn't contribute to BlizzCon points, but still, I mean, that's kind of what's happening. I like the Ysera. Ysera's fine.
Yeah, this deck's kind of weird. It's like has all the early game and like very limited on the mid game. Like we don't see any belchers or anything like that there, and then it just jumps right to late game. So like the only mid game really is like the Holy Champion and injured Blade Masters, because you don't want to just like tempo out Alkanize most of the time. So it's pretty focused on just crushing the aggro and then beating the control and struggling against mid range decks. So I guess that's what it's like, more of a meta choice, and that's kind of how you have to build Priest, right? You can't counter everything with Priest, but you can counter one thing really good with Priest usually, and sometimes two.
Yeah,
but not all three. Never.
It's become more flexible, which is nice. I mean, you can just you can tweak to different decks, like you're saying, based on what's going on. All right, let's talk about second deck here, which is a Hunter. That, by the way, all these decks got to top 50 legends, so that's why we're discussing them. They're not just any old decks. So those of you out there needing a deck, you can just try these decks out. All right, this Hunter deck, I think the biggest thing to point out is that there's a Tiger here, and I've been seeing the Tiger a little bit, on ladder too. What do you guys think of this deck?
Personally, I've not had so much success with Bear Trap. I think it worked really good in the beginning, when a lot of people had no idea what the card was, and its success rate's gone down a lot. And especially if you're grinding Legend Lighter at around like top 100, top 50, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, that guy plays Bear Trap. I remember him." So,
right.
The success rate of Bear Trap, I feel, goes down the longer you play the deck, and maybe you're at a point where everyone's forgotten about Bear Trap again, because I remember everyone played it for a week, and then everyone took it out. And then it's kind of like Snake Trap in that regard, as people keep shifting it in and out randomly when people start forgetting about it, because it has huge success if people don't expect it. But if they play around it, it is pretty bad.
It's I don't really get the point. Like, I can see you play Flare, but it really makes only one matchup really better. Like, it makes Paladin, of course, really insane probably if you get it off at turn 6, but against the Hunter, Mira doesn't even do much. Hunter plays really well around their own traps, and it's like a card that I think he just made this deck right at the moment that the Paladin, everyone was playing the Paladin and using the Paladin. And I can see that being really good for against the Paladin deck, and it looks like a pretty okay standard mid-range Hunter. Yeah, it's pretty fun that he plays a lot of one-offs, like one Web Spinner, one Freezing, one Knife Juggler, one Houndmaster. It's a lot of one-offs, but yeah, I can see this deck being pretty consistent.
Yeah, the Tiger helps with the King's Elk too, but it looks like he cut like a Knife Juggler for the King's Elk, and Knife Juggler's too good, man. It's so much damage.
It is.
Like,
it is.
And it just like Knife Juggler Unleashed is one of the ways you can contest like Zooey sort of decks, like the Paladin and Mech Mage sort of things, Tempo Mages. Like, it's your recovery mechanism in the mid game that helps you beat down those aggro decks. So I don't know. I would like to see a second Knife Juggler.
I would see this deck as no Flare as well. Flare is just
Yeah.
like, even
Flare's
against Secret's Paladin, like there's like one matchup out of 9, and then you have like you need to draw it, and they need to play Secrets. There's so many ands and ifs and words. Just play a 2-drop.
Well, I think we know they're gonna play Secrets. They got like 10 of them, so that's. I don't think we need to count that as an and. But yeah.
Whether you wait for the mysterious, whether you wait for the 5 secrets or not, is really the question.
Okay. Secrets.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to some questions from you guys, the audience. I had you guys post questions in the comments for the Value Town post on ChanManV.tv. So we'll pick some of these out. But let me start with just a question from me real quick. What's your favorite card right now, guys, while I'm looking through these?
Confessor Pilchers.
Yeah, you just gotta mention that.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to pick one, huh?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pretty cool ones. And what are we speaking in terms of, like playability, or
no,
just
just whatever, just your favorite card for fun or whatever, just whatever you.
I like the mage one that lets you hero power as much as you want. I like trying to turn into Ragnaros and do that.
Caldera. Oh yeah, the major demo.
The major demo.
Caldera thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a blast.
That is really fun. Okay, so I got a question here from Ben Kolya Mansley. Ben Brode recently posted a video on power creep and the problems with introducing new content, mostly creating more of a barrier to entry for new players. What do you think is the best way to overcome this, and what systems could they put in place for new players? Amaz, you got any ideas for this?
I guess I'll take it first. So yeah, new players, they're gonna generally get overwhelmed when new sets come out. When you first join Hearthstone, the vanilla set, and then you learn all the cards because the mechanics are super easy, right? Things do damage when you play it, and things die when you kill it. But now everything's crazy. So one of the ways would be, just having a vanilla set only kind of format, and you can also extend it to limited formats where, for example, this kind of ladder, you're only queuing into vanilla plus GBG, for example, and Max Ramus. Mm-hmm. And then in this ladder, well, all the formats are available, Then you can actually, separate the crazy, I have so many mechanics to learn, and what the heck is Inspire, right? To like just the normal type. That's one way to do it.
It is a bit of problem in every game, right? Every game is already going when they are gonna be long. It's at some moment there's always the problem, probably for new players to either in a MOBA or a card game. It's a problem in a lot where you're not really used to some of the possibilities, and it's kind of hard. I think the idea from Amaz is actually really good. I actually like it that there might be like. It doesn't even have to be much options, but 2-3 different ladder options, and it can already work out really well for new players.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Or they could just give all the cards away for free, and then everybody can have them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
Make money somehow. But yeah, also the topic on power creep. A lot of people complain that Evil Heckler and Ice Rager were power creeps, but I don't really agree. We're not at that stage yet where we're introducing a card that's strictly better. For example, like if they introduced Knife Juggler, then I would actually consider that as more of a power creep than like Evil Heckler, because nobody plays Booty Bodyguard anyways, and nobody's gonna play Evil Heckler anyway. So if you're introducing a new card that's like an improvement over a existing card, but nobody's gonna play that card anyways, it's probably more of an arena card, right? It's not like changing.
But why don't they just buff these terrible cards to a bit less terrible? I mean,
yeah, they could do that too.
Well, they still have to exist for the randomness cards, like Sky Golem, Shredder, cards, those sort of things.
Exactly. That changes a little bit. But,
okay.
With ovulators and whatnot, you kind of forget. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to get a bodyguard here, but I guess it's gone now, right? So that's one of the things. And of course, it's okay to have card games that give you like bad cards to start out with, so you can actually identify which are bad cards, right? So for example, like, I'm playing this deck and it puts Magma Rager in my deck, and you play it a lot, it's like, it just dies, so I guess I'll replace it with something new, right? So it's kind of like the introduction level. So I think those cards have a place. But then at the same time, why do I have Magma Rager and Ice Rager available draft in the arena at the same time? Like, if I'm at the point where I know the card's bad, why am I still offering an option to play it? So I guess the only argument for them to be still in the game after the introduction is because of cards like Unstable Portal. It makes the power level of Unstable Portal a little bit weaker than it's supposed to be.
I mean, if every card was good, then how would you know they're good?
That's true. Gotta have relativity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Manual B, I think it's Faku Manual B asks, guys, Savannah Highmane is one of the best cards in the game. Do you think that should be a legendary card?
Nah.
Yeah, Hunter's not broken right now without it being a legendary, so it seems fine.
True.
Like Hunter's probably not even top 3 classes right now. So
Kind of like Innervate, right? Innervate's not legendary because it's like the only thing that's holding Drew together. So
yeah.
I kind of can see it that it has to be maybe a legendary if Hunter will be more strong. But people like there is no legendary that you play maybe besides Lotep and Hunter. It's you play Savannah Highmane 1 and Savannah Highmane 2 now. It's yeah.
It's good as kind of a cheap deck too, right? I mean, just kind of what we were talking about even with the power creep issue and people not being able to afford all these new cards constantly.
I guess the another angle to that question was like, if it's legendary, then you won't see this too much in arena, right? But then it's not really a big deal in arena anyways, I think. Yeah, it's fine. Doesn't matter. It's like an Ancient of Lore. I compare it to like higher level of Ancient of Lore.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Firebat. Let's see. What do you think is the top 3 strongest decks at the moment? Without ruining what you're going to be bringing to Blizzcon Qualifiers.
All right. Well, I think Patron Warrior is currently the strongest deck, and then following behind that, in terms of like just like overall strength, not just what the meta is, I would go with like Patron Warrior, Secrets Paladin, and Druid. Like I think those are the three all-around strongest decks that can do well in any sort of meta. They just have the best matchups all around, and Patron Warrior, everyone knows that that's pretty busted. It has combos that allow it to, if it has enough time, it just wins, which means your opponent has to kill you, and then you have mechanisms to stop that. So it just automatically does well against half the decks in the meta, because half the decks aren't going to be rushing you down as fast as possible. So then Secrets Paladin, also really solid because it takes the initiative. It has things like early game minions, and then it has a big finisher at the end, like how mid-range Hunter used to be. You have the early game minions put on the pressure, and then the huge finisher at the end. Well, its huge finisher is much better than high main now, so it's got the best like mid-game pressure with the best finisher now. So it sort of took the mid-range Hunter spot in the meta. And then what was the last deck I said? Druid. Druid's got like so much consistency now.
Yeah.
They used to have a lot of struggle against aggro because they didn't they had to run like zombie chows or whatever to compete with aggro. But now they have Darnassus Aspirant, which accomplishes their wild growthing and helps them deal with aggro. So their big weakness just sort of got patched, and they're really benefiting from just not dying instantly now to aggro.
Yeah. All right. And you guys, the Maz and Thijs, you guys agree with that? Those three decks?
Yeah, I think overall, as Firebat said, if you're not really looking at the meta, they are the three decks that are the most consistent themselves. You see Handlock being played a lot too, or Demon Lock decks, and but that's more because everyone is playing Patron, so you already get one pretty nice matchup. And if you get one nice matchup out of three matchups, and you just have an average one, it's already worth playing the deck almost in any kind of conquest mode. So I see I think I totally agree with Firebat that these are the three decks that, if you don't look too much at the meta, are the best.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. It comes from, I can't read that. I think it's in Russian, so I can't read the name of this one. But what cards would you add to make Rogue top tier again? So it says Pirates obviously does not work. Yeah, Pirates don't work.
I wish I knew. That would have been that'd be good knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I see people still playing the Oil Rogue, which isn't super bad. Like I don't think Rogue's quite at the bottom right now, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean Rogue's mid tier, but if you want to make it top tier,
yeah,
like, whew, I've been struggling with that puzzle for a long time.
Well, these new cards, right? They're all
Lock and load. What make it broken? I think.
Wow.
Lock and load.
Lock and load. Put it in the wrong
Yeah,
class.
broke
Oh my
card.
gosh, yeah.
Auctioneer for 2 mana, yeah.
So, is there any potential in the Beneath the Grounds and a Nubarak type of thing?
I tried so hard.
Oh, I know, like right now, but maybe in the future. I mean, in the future, like expansion or two expansions from now. Is there any kind of potential you see in that?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential. Like, it's so much value if you can slow down the game enough, and you have big removals with Rogue already with the Blade Flurries. You have like all of these cards that can help you take it to fatigue. It's just not dying while taking it to fatigue is the hard part.
Yeah.
And generally, that's really hard when everybody's just trying to kill you by going face. Like the current meta.
I think the thing of the new Rogue cards is that Rogue was pretty good in GVG, I think, because there were a lot of other cards that introduced it, and then if you're designing the game and you look at the perspective of, okay, I guess Rogues are really good in this one specific deck or Rogue, right? Then every time you play against a Rogue, it's just going to be automatically that. So that's why I think that Blizzard went in that direction with like introducing the Pirates, is introducing the Beneath the Grounds and Nubarak and Poison Blade, something like that. Because like if you treat as like a class as only one dimension, it's like single dimensional, is like kind of boring when you play against it and when you play with it as well. It seems like you don't have a lot of options. That's kind of, I think, why they introduced Patron too, right? Because before Patron, everybody was just playing Control Warrior, right? Every time you see Kira against Warrior, oh, I guess I can play really slow. I'll just keep the stats still and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what the direction I think they're doing with Rogue. And somewhat with Druid. Druid, Aviana, helps out that ramp thing as well. Yeah.
And then Savage Combatant for the Savage resource stuff.
Yeah, so something like that.
Yeah, it just doesn't work yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, from a designer standpoint, just trying to seed some things. The perfect example is the dragon thing. You know, it took a couple releases for it to actually become viable. Might be the same deal here for Rogue, but maybe, maybe. It'd be cool to see more pirates. I mean, the pirate decks I have played are fun to play. It's just they're just not very viable at a high level. All right, let's see. Any more questions here? Otherwise, we'll call it a show. Let me see. There's one new one here. Let me see if it's a good one. Okay, okay, last one. What tournament format do you see as being the best one? Whether it's out there already or one that we haven't seen quite yet. Because the one that we saw in ATLC obviously was fresh and new, was really, really cool. But some other people still prefer Swiss type of things and formats we've seen in other TCGs.
Really hard question to answer. I think it's really healthy for Hearthstone in general to have sometimes different formats. There is always a different strategy coming in, and everyone already find out what is just the best lineup for Conquest, and the changes that are being in are really small. People are just playing just the same patron deck, and there's like one card difference sometimes. I feel like just having, I really love that the ETLC and Firegame is doing it too, that they just come up with some new formats sometimes. It makes a fresh change, and I think that should happen maybe a bit more often.
Yeah, I agree with Thijs. Just any change is good change. Just like keep players on their toes, keep things happening, keep things different is really good, because we get to these points where it's stagnant and everyone's just bringing the same exact 3 decks. Like I was casting the qualifiers for BlizzCon Regionals America yesterday, and everyone had Patron Warrior and Druid, like almost every player.
Yeah.
And then just a third deck that kind of either countered Druid, which would be like Tempo Mages most of the time, or the third deck countered Patron, and it would be Handlock. And that was it. That was the diversity of the lineups. So everyone had a plan, and their plan was Druid and Patron can't be countered that well and can win really good, so let's bring those, and then let's bring a third deck that beats either Druid or Patron.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the other new formats that people come up with. For example, like very early on, there was like limited mana grinds, right? You can't put any epics or legendaries in your stuff like that.
Yeah.
And people kind of extended to like the Geico brawls, the challenge stones, stuff like that. It's interesting to tackle the game in another way, and formats are the way to do it. But if you were to say that like what competitive format is the best, ATLC format is the best.
Yeah. And how do you think of the banning thing? Like there was long time last season we had always the best of 5 and you called ban one with the last year standing. Like how is that? Like I'm actually kind of big of a fan of just banning one class. Maybe it might be a bit broken somehow, but how do you guys think of that?
I love banning. Banning is the best, man. It just adds another dimension and another just thing that everyone has to think about, and a lot of people don't really strategize too much on that. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it and strategizing on those, and that's how I was able to have success in the last year of standing format, because it's really, really important what you can do with all 3 of your decks, how you can make them work together if you're able to just remove something, what tech cards you have to play, how you can build them to just punish your opponent from not being able to have that option to attack you with.
Yeah, I do like the banning format quite a bit too, because you can come up into the game with a already pre-constructed plan, right? It's a pre-constructed plan.
And if there is a broken deck, you can just ban it, or you can also decide to not ban it. But it just puts so much more options in a format, I think.
Exactly, but I think one of the problems with the banning format is that it's not elegant. I don't think game modes should actually modify their stuff outside of the client. For example, like when you're queuing in, when you're doing the ban format, you can't actually go into the client and go like, I'm gonna ban this deck. So then,
we could just add that to the client.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
How is that a big deal?
Yeah, but because they're not, it's really hard to communicate with the audience. Like most of the majority of players are playing ranked mode, right? And they are playing against every single deck, right? So for example, if you're like bringing a lineup that you're not considering Patron to be a deck, then they release deck lists and you go like, this is a good deck, but only if Patron is not a deck. So I don't think it's an elegant system. If they actually implement this format inside of Hearthstone, then sure, because everybody can practice it, but you need the connection with the with the people who are not like playing at the highest level or something like that.
Sure.
But I find it pretty interesting because in also other games, CS:GO, they can ban a map. In normal MOBAs, they ban some certain heroes that are just they don't want to play against for their strategy, or they think they are just broken. And it's pretty interesting. I was just thinking of it sometimes. Why is that not happening in Hearthstone? I think it's some kind of healthy that it switch around. It will also switch meta so much around if there is that option, but. It's interesting. It's an interesting topic.
It opens up so many more possibilities if you have a ban. Just
Yeah.
so many different decks, so many different things that really get squeezed out by current popular decks that can't exist right now. And if you could just like remove Patron, for example, you could have like a way different lineup and do way different things with maybe weird, like maybe Shaman is the best deck with Patron gone or something. Like just weird things can happen with bans, and it's really sad that we don't get to see that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things too that's a limitation is just the amount of matches that could be played. Right? One of the cool things about ATLC is that you're essentially bringing 9 decks, right? Like you can kind of circumvent the issue with like one deck being super good against because you can pick a counter for it in 9 decks. Where it's like you're playing BlizzCon, you only have 3 decks, right, to play with, and so you usually you don't have that flexibility to have counter decks like that. Is that an option, maybe just allowing players to bring more decks to BlizzCon? It would mean longer matches, obviously.
Yeah. Of course, time is always the main constraint, right? You do not want to sit there looking at a 2-hour game between 2 people. That's kind of like now Hearthstone's what designed to do, right? It's supposed to be fast. You can pick it up and go. So I think even tournaments should reflect that. But what you're saying is if we're gonna play more decks, if more decks is gonna help the system, and does. Because, for example, in ATLC, 1/6 of your lineup is Patron, whereas in normal Conquest, 1/3 of your decks are Patron. So immediately there's kind of the power level kind of thing, right? Where, you have to bring Paladin, or you have to bring Priest. So it's more even across everywhere. If you, like, basically you don't get punished for playing Patron as much if you have to choose 6 decks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, for the community, thanks for all the questions. I really appreciate you guys posting those and having us answer them. But we're going to wrap up the show. It's been a great time having the 3 of you guys on the show. Firebat, it's actually your first time on Value Town. I didn't even realize that. I'm like, oh my gosh. I definitely asked you at one point, right? I think we just didn't arrange maybe a time.
Maybe
towards the end there, yeah. You weren't getting the cred yet, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I had you on Deck Wars, though. I know that for sure.
Yeah, it was on Deck Wars.
Yeah. But, just huge thanks to you guys. You want to do some shout-outs before you guys take off?
I got a shout-out that I kind of want to give. I want to shout out to my open tournament for all the people out there looking for more open tournaments to play. I'm selling out right now. There's about 200 slots left in my open tournament. I'm running it and adminning it myself, and then I'm getting it produced for the top 6 or the top 8 are getting produced. So it's going to be live streamed on my channel. The prize pool isn't great for the amount of time you have to put in. I'm going to be honest with you, but I want to try and make it as fair and balanced as possible. So it's best of 5s, and it's a lot of Swiss rounds. So whoever wins is going to be the best player that competes. That's the goal. So I want to make it as even and fair as possible. Because a lot of opens really struggle with that.
10 rounds of Swiss, to be exact, right?
Yeah, 10 rounds of Swiss, and they're all best of 5s. Like a lot of tournaments, they do the Swiss part, and they get enough rounds in the Swiss, but then they're like best of 1 Swiss, or like best of 3 Swiss. And it's like, I really want a good tournament format that's really going to decide, not based on RNG, based on skill, who actually wins the event. So,
yeah, definitely support that effort. For sure, play that tournament. It's free to enter, right? Correct?
Yeah, free to enter. You got a prize pool, and then giveaways constantly happening. So even if you don't win the tournament, if you win a round, you get a raffle ticket. And there's 10 Swiss rounds, so you can earn up to 10 raffle tickets. And then there's a raffle at the end, and you can win prizes in the raffle.
No, it sounds good, man. Totally. And that starts when?
That starts on the 22nd.
Okay, so wow, that's like this week, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thijs, any shout-outs?
Oh, well, just shout out to my team, of course, Nihilam, and my teammates, life coach Radu and Lothar. Also, still a shout out to Amaz. I think he made an insanely cool tournament, and how it was organized for the players, how it was organized for the viewers. I think everyone had a good time, and that is also a thing that tournaments should supposed to be. So yeah, I really thanks Amaz too for just making such a cool tournament.
Oh, thank you. That's nice. That's really nice.
Amaz, any shout outs?
Yeah, I guess shouts to everybody involved in the ATLC, whether you're casting it, playing in it, following it, talking about it. You guys are awesome. You just need to support Hearthstone events. We're kind of like all a big family, right? And we just need Hearthstone to stick around, and because we're just growing together, right? I guess an extra shout out to Team Archon as well. We're doing a lot, and we're gonna have more tournaments going on. And of course, we have to crush this BlizzCon first.
Yes.
We'll get a new tournament running. Season 2 should be good. And of course, if you have any feedback, let me know about ATLC. We're always trying to change things for the better. So there you go.
All right, again, I just want to thank you three guys for coming on the show and all the viewers for watching. Our next show, I might actually have a show early. This might have 2 Value Towns in the next 5-6 days. Our next show is probably going to be on Monday, tentatively on Monday. Will probably be an arena-centric show because I haven't had one of those in ages. So all you arena folks that have been asking for that for a long time, definitely check that out. And it'll be a night show too. There's no set time right now for Value Town just because I just like to be able to accommodate certain different times for the different potential guests because they live all around the world, so not everybody has the same openings. In the past I would just have it the one slot, and Crip used to be a host, right, and we had to stop having him being part of the show because of just that. I kind of don't want that to be a limitation this time around. So we'll have a night show, which for those of you maybe that live on in Europe, you might not be able to catch it, but you can catch the VODs all the time for free just on youtube.com/ChanManV. Also, real quick note, I started a Patreon for Value Town 2. A lot of people have asked for a long time, how do I support the show? Never provided a way to support the show because never gave away or had t-shirts or anything like that. So I decided to start a Patreon. You guys can support in that way. Nothing changes. Everything's free still. You can watch the live shows anytime you want and VODs whenever you want. So nothing like that. But there's a lot of cool rewards and milestones there. So check that out if you if you want to support the show. Really appreciate everybody that does. And lastly, I'll try to get the VODs up, shortly after. Audios, I'm still working on trying to get it up on iTunes, guys. Right now, at least for now, it's on SoundCloud. So check out any, those of you that only listen to them on the way to work or whatever. Check it out on SoundCloud. They have a SoundCloud app that's free on iTunes too, or App Store. So you can, it's free too. Free option also. But that's it. That's going to be it for Value Town. So for ChanManV, Amaz, Thijs, and Firebat, we'll see you next time. Later.
See ya.